Bardella joins us now with his latest piece for USA Today entitled "Duckworth and Hirono Are Right. Asian Americans Deserve More from Tokenism Than Tokenism from Biden." Okay, and Kurt, a lot of people would say that Joe Biden has a more diverse cabinet than we've seen in a long time. But you're right. There is definitely an area where we could see more representation. How do we get there?
Well, Mika, in the overall conversation about racist America, we all understand that at the root of racism is an effort to suppress communities of color, to suppress our voices, to suppress our access to the corridors of power, and thereby influence our ability to actually impact a national agenda. What the Asian American community is looking for right now, especially in the backdrop of all of the attention we've been receiving due to the rise in violence and hate crimes against the AAPI community overall, we need more than just tokenism. It's not enough to say, well, we'll have someone who can be the AAPI outrage person at the White House. We want someone that's going to have access, someone that's going to be able to influence the broader agenda, because we all have a stake in the common agenda, whether it's gun reform, health care, climate change, education, infrastructure. We care as much about those issues as everybody else does. And we want to have a seat at the table as those issues are being prioritized and debated and policies are being shaped. And we want to have a voice within the Biden White House to make sure that we're represented during those broader conversations, not just when it comes to issues that are related specifically to the AAPI community.
I totally agree with everything you've said. I agree that there is a void. But I also want to ask you point blank about the first statement you made. I mean, do you think the Biden administration is willingly, knowingly suppressing?
No, I don't think they're willingly, knowingly suppressing the Asian American voices or Asian American community. I think that they could do a better job of having representation. And I think that's the point that Senators Duckworth and Hirono were making on Tuesday when they were having discussions with the White House about this issue and making the case that there is a better way to have bigger voices for our community, and especially at a time where we have been at the forefront of one of the major national narratives that's unfolding. The lack of Asian American faces and voices is glaring, to say the least. And the point that they made, and I think that it was well received, because at the end of the day, they relented on their threat that they wouldn't vote for any of the non-white Biden nominees, that they had said, okay, the White House heard us. We have faith that this president particularly understands what we're saying. This isn't Donald Trump. This isn't the Republican Party. This isn't a party that is built on suppressing minorities, that's trying to take voting rights away from communities of color. We believe and trust that we can take Joe Biden and his administration at their word when they say this will be a priority. They will make some changes. They will do better to have more representation for the Asian American community. And when nothing that this president has done leads us to believe that we can't take him at face value. He has been there talking about these issues when they've come up. He doesn't need to be prompted. He doesn't need a note card with little talking points written on it to tell him that when violence against Asian Americans happen, he needs to address it as a president. He didn't need to be told. He didn't have to wait days to lower flags at half staff. So we're going to take him at face value and take them at their word that they're going to make good on what they told those senators.
So, Kurt, are you suggesting that they may be tone deaf? Certainly, you were concerned and others were concerned in an initial response to this inquiry several days ago.
Well, I think that this is where the nuance of communities of color really comes into play. You can't tell Asian Americans that you are represented. You have the Vice President, Kamala Harris. There's a big difference right now in how we view South Asians and the East Asian community. It's the East Asian community that's been under siege by the racist rhetoric of the Republican Party. It's people who look like me that have those targets on our back because of the rhetoric of Kung Flu and China virus. So when we bring this up and you say, well, look at Harris, look at the nomination of Neera Tanden, we feel a little bit differently about that because of the current state that we're in. And I think that the Biden administration was a little unaware there of those nuances and how they expressed them. I don't think it was intentional. I don't think it was coming from a place where they felt that they wanted to suppress our voices or hold us back. But I think now that they've had these conversations, especially with those two senators, I think they see that there's a lot more on the surface that needs to be addressed than they may have realized when they first put together the administration. I mean, for better or worse, this is the first administration in more than 20 years that doesn't have an Asian American cabinet secretary. This is a very diverse cabinet and a very diverse administration, but that one little nuance did not go unnoticed amongst the Asian American community.
All right, Kurt Bardella, thank you very, very much. And still